A few days ago, I began a personal retreat. Just some time to think, pray, reflect, and listen to myself, and just have some time of the normal routines. Then at some point during the retreat, I started going through my old notes. As I went through the pages, I could see pages filled with thoughts, prayers, lessons, dreams, questions from 5 years ago versions of me, 6 years ago versions of me, 4 years ago versions of me. As I continued through those pages, I stumbled on something really amazing that struck me, something I had written years ago, and somehow I paused. It so much marveled me, and I began to wonder, I began to think, how could something I had written years ago be speaking so directly to the things I'm facing currently? How could something written years ago feel as though it was written yesterday? How could thoughts from my younger self speak so accurately to the life I'm living now? It was at that moment that something really settled in my mind. That God prepares answers before we discover the questions. And this is actually one of the reasons why people don't understand life. We don't actually settle down to actually have reflections. We don't remember. We are usually standing so close to the story. We see today's struggles, today's challenges, disappointments, delays, unanswered questions. But God sees the entire story. He sees the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story at the same time. We are just seeing a page while God is seeing the entire book. Many people go through life thinking that their life is just a series of random events stitched together by coincidence. That their life is all about one opportunity, one mistake, one failure, one relationship. And somehow we are concluding that life is simply happening to us. But what if it isn't? What if there is much more design to life than we realize? What if some of the things we thought were interruptions were actually preparations? What if some seasons that felt unproductive were quietly shaping us, giving us capacities that we would need later? What if God was building something long before we recognize it? I just want us to settle on this. A seed buried underneath the ground looks inactive. It looks as though nothing is happening. Yet beneath the surface, development is happening. Roots are forming, strength is being built, foundations are being established. And the day the plant finally emerges, it looks as though that was the day growth began. But it was simply the day growth became very visible. And that's how most of our lives are. We celebrate the visible moments and we ignore the invisible preparations. We admire outcomes and overlook process. We see arrival and we forget development. As I sat on those notebooks, I realized something much more. That many of the things I prayed about have become part of my reality. that many lessons I struggled to understand then have become clearer now. Many questions I had that were troubling me at the time has been answered by experience. And the truth is, not all of them though, but enough to remind me that God is intentional. And the truth is, if God is that intentional, then life cannot be meaningless. If God is that intentional, then existence cannot be accidental. If God is that intentional, I want you to just think about the intentionality of God. Then it means purpose is not just a motivational concept. It is a reality that is waiting to be discovered. And this is where your becoming, your evolution actually starts. It doesn't really start with glamour. It starts with you realizing that I'm a story that has been long written. It starts with you realizing that I am a thought in the mind of God. Maybe the greatest tragedy is not failure. Maybe the greatest tragedy is living your entire life without realizing that you were created on purpose, for a purpose. I want you to take some moments and think about your life. Are there moments that only make sense when you look back? Are there experiences that seemed meaningless at some point, but they proved valuable over time? Could it be that God has been writing a larger story than we are able to see? Perhaps this is actually one of the things that we should actually try to think about. Instead of trying to say what is happening to me, think about what is it that God is doing. What is it that God is trying to tell me? What is it that God is trying to tell through my life? Can you just settle down and look at the patterns? Look at the stories. Look at the details God has been trying to lay emphasis on over the years. That is the beginning of becoming. Realizing that life is a thought in God's mind, and that what is expected of us is partnership in fulfillment of that story. Welcome to Becoming, and stay tuned.